Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, especially to Mr. Dr. Marwito Hadi, MPD, as the lecturer of Second Language Acquisition course, who gave me these opportunities to presentate the material regarding to SLA's assignment. With the title of my presentation is Second Language Learning Through a Cognitive Lens. So I'm Cicih Kurniasih from the PBI 3A. I would like to presentate this material. Alright, so this is an overview of my presentation. The first one is introduction of this presentation, like we would like to talk about in this session, and then major research tradition in SLA, first versus second language, cognitive theories, role in environment, theoretical models, things that makes English hard to learn, ways to learn English better, implications for second language teaching, and theoretical models, also the conclusion of this presentation. Alright, so we begin with the introduction of this material. So we would like to talk about cognitivism theory, like the title of this presentation. I would like to give the Chinese proverb as the beginning of my presentation. Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. So this is basically the key concept of the cognitivism theory. Like, it is better to teach someone how to learn than just give them the answer. And that's what cognitivism is about, teaching you how to think about language learning. And in the past, research only focused on language analysis. Only after the language systemization has been done, learning factors were incorporated. And then in the 16th century, Comenius conducted empirical observations in language learning, but no relevant theory of learning appeared until the early 20th century. So, cognitivism theory, it is one of the language theory, and then it's contrast to the behaviorism theory, which is in the behaviorism theory, we make a habit formation to memorize, to imitate the word, and then we know about the word by memorizing it, but what it is called, the mental process of the language learning is not that important in the behaviorism theory. While in the cognitivism theory, we look that learning is more than we just have to memorizing about the word. But in cognitivism, we have to think, processing, understanding about the new information of our in the language learning, so that we can apply it in our real life communication based on the context, based on the situation, and etc. So in the old way, basically there are two ways of learning. In the old way, which is memorizing the word, and then it turns out to the new way that teaching language is about thinking and understanding, and that's what cognitivism means. Alright. So, and then the major research traditions in second language acquisition. There are three parts. The first one is behaviorist approach. The behaviorist approach to learning relies on habit formation through repetition and rewards. As Suharno, eating Hutchinson and Weathers, 1987 states, this method emphasizes a mechanical process of habit formation, similar to training a dog perform a task correctly and receive a reward. Like in behaviorist approach, it is like learning by repeating make a habit formation. For example, like a dog is make a habit to uh, knew that the bell ring is the sign of there's food for a dog. So it's kind of similar to that situation where the students can more uh, like to learning English if the teacher give the reward for them, for example. And then meanwhile, in the cognitive approach, learning by thinking, it is the key points of cognitive learning by thinking means actively processing information instead of just memorizing. So we actively processing information in our brain because it is the function of human beings. Like we have the brain, so we have to think and processing the new information in our brain. For example, like rather than memorizing grammar rules, learners recognize sentence patterns and figure out the rules from context. So in the behaviorist theories, we did not too much recognize the mental processes, but in the cognitive approach, we rely on that, on mental processes. And then in dialogical approach, learning by talking involves gaining knowledge through conversation and interactions with others. So it is different also from the two approaches I mentioned before, behaviorist and cognitive. Okay, in dialogical approach, we're learning by talking with other people, like make interaction so that we can learn a language better. For example, speaking with native speakers helps learner understand how the language is used in real life situation. And then, first versus second language. Since we are learning about second language acquisition, so we have to know the differences between them. L1 first language and L2 second language. So L1 is acquired in infancy, while L2 learned after L1. L1 is native language, while L2 is non-native language. L1 is our mother tongue, and L2 is foreign language. L1 is primary language, L2 is secondary language. L1 is stronger language and L2 is weaker language. So basically the simple differences between first and second language is first language, that is the language we learn since we were born. It is the language from our mother tongue. That is the first language means. Like for example, my first language is Sundanese because my mother teach me since I was born is Sundanese language. And then, while second language is the language we learn after the first language. For example, like Indonesian language, English language, Japanese, Korean, etc. It is any language that we learn after the first language that we called it as a second language. And usually the first language is stronger than the second language because it is the first language is our native language and the second language is non-native language. So that's the differences of L1 versus L2. That is really important to know in this course. And then we look back at the cognitive theories in language acquisition, what we will discuss for today. So there are two ideas of cognitive theories in language acquisition. The first one comes from Piaget's idea. You can't learn language until you understand the whole around you. In Piaget's view, cognitive language about the world. Without cognitive development, language acquisition will not take place. So, understanding things comes before learning the words from them, for them. For example, like in Piaget's idea, thinking comes before the language. Yeah, thinking comes before the language. For example, like in if we are a child, if we as if the children have to know the shape and then the function of the ball before they say the words ball correctly. So they have to know the function of the ball itself before they say the word correctly. And then while in Vygotsky's idea that argue that language is a tool for learning and development. You learn language by talking to people and being part of a culture. For example, like children who frequently talk with adults will quickly grasp the concept like colors and shapes. So in Vygotsky's idea, we're learning by doing something. But in Piaget's idea, thinking, we have to think, we have to understand about the what is that, the function of that things before we know the language, the label of that things. Alright, so that is the two cognitive theories in language acquisition, which is it is still relate to how human beings, like with thinking, we process the language with our understanding. And then role of environment in language acquisition. The first one is social environment, being around people who care for you and teach you things. For example, like in our family, in our school, we interact with other people in social environment. Like if we are talk a lot with them, or they talk a lot with us, we listen and we speak more, and then that's make our language acquisition better. And then linguistic environment, hearing adults talk to you in a way that easy to understand. It is called baby talk. For example, like our mom talk to us in baby talk. They slow the word, they repeat the word again and again so that we can notice, oh, this is the meaning of ball. For example, like, hey, look at that, there is a ball. The color of the ball is blue and white. For example, like they repeating the word ball until we know, oh, that is the ball. So the ball is like that, for example. And then joint referencing and joint action, doing things together and talking about them. Joint referencing refers to an act of communication which often covers naming or describing, whereas joint action is related to a shared action sequence. For example, like in our school, our teacher give us the interaction, the instruction, while they also like talk to us about that instruction. For example, like if a teacher and student draw a picture together, the teacher might say, "Let's draw a sun." What color is the sun? And then the students listens, understand, and speaks during the activity. So it's learning by doing. So this will helps the students to connect words with real actions and objects. And then theoretical models in of language acquisition. First one, behaviorist model, like the word behavior. So it's learning by copying and repeating. And then in innatist model, being born with a language brain. Like we are as a human being, we naturally produce the language because your brain is wired to learn language. And then interactionist model, learning by talking to other and getting help when you need it. This is like Vygotsky's idea of getting help from someone who knows more than you. Like you interact with adults who talk about new information to you, and oh, now I know about that, for example. And then things that make English hard to learn. Alright, so since English is our foreign language, it is not our mother tongue, and there are things that make English hard to learn. The first one is because of morphosyntax challenges. In morphology, understanding how words are made, like prefixes, suffixes, for example, like knowing that ed makes a verb past tense, but not all of the past tense have ed. For example, like in the word go, the word go, and then the verb to from go is not good but went, and that's make English is kind of hard because the morphology is different from word to the another word. And then the syntax. English sentences are structured differently from sentences in other languages. For example, like I eat apple in English versus I apples eat in some other languages. And then also pragmatic challenges. Like we have to notice about the cultural context and speak acts while we are speak with English. For example, like in cultural context, understanding what people really mean, not just what they say. Knowing when we have to use the formal language and informal language. So we have to notice the position. We talk with the teacher, or we talk with our friends or with our family. In context of business, in context of education, it's kind of different. And the English also, the use of English, the use of the word is also different. So it's kind of hard for us to learn English because of that. And then speak acts, understanding how to ask for things, apologies, etc. in English. For example, like knowing that can you pass the salt is really a request or not. And then with the challenges, of course, there are ways to learn English better also. So we have to know the solution of that challenges. Okay, so here is the solution to learn English better. The first one is immersion, creating an environment where the target language is used and extensively, maximizing exposure to authentic language and cultural context. For example, like you study abroad and you talk with native speakers, and then you might get the better English language acquisition. And then, for example, like you make an immersion too. You like to learn a music. You like to watch a movies. And then you learn English with that methods. And then leveraging technology, utilizing digital tools for language learning, enhancing engagement, and providing access to diverse resources. Like we live in technology era, in modern era, so we have to make that as a benefit for us, and then we can access a kind of technology that can helps us to learn English better. For example, like Duolingo, Elsa Speaks, and for example, like you want to talk with native, you can use on my TV and etc. And then metacognition, developing awareness and control over one's own learning processes, empowering learners to become strategic and self-regulated. Like if you want to really learn English, you have to make a motivation of yourself and make a habit so that you have the target of your learning English. For example, like I want to learn 10 new vocabulary every week, for example. So metacognition means thinking about how you learn best. Like everyone has their own learning strategies because the what is that? Yeah, everyone has different hobbies, different how they gain the new knowledge and etc. So it can helps you to learn English better by metacognition, by think about how the learning English the best for you, the strategies of learning English. And then implications for second language teaching. Of course, we are as the future teacher, we have to know what best for our students, what the best language teaching for our students. And these are the methods that we can use with the cognitivism concept. The first one is problem-solving activities, and then discovery learning, cognitive strategies, project-based learning. For example, in discovery learning, instead of directly teaching grammar rules, which is a traditional method, you can provide authentic text or dialogue so students can analyze patterns, identify rules on their own, and apply them in their writing and speaking, and so that can make learning more meaningful and more engaging. And then for the project-based learning, for example, like students work in groups and they have to like research their own topic, write the scripts, record conversation, and etc. So this method can encourages collaboration, creativity, and real-world language usage. And then practical applications. Teachers should create interactive environment that stimulate intellectual engagement. For example, like in work discussion, like in discovery learning, for example. And then activities should focus on meaningful communication rather than rate memorization. So, because this is a cognitivism concept, cognitivism methods in language teaching, which focuses on how people think, process information. So, the language teaching is they have to focus on meaningful communication, like make the student think, make the student understand about the language itself, the use of English itself, rather than they just memorizing it. So it is not the language that we have to memorize the grammar, for example, but we have to know how to apply that grammar in our real life context, and it's kind of hard as a teacher, but we have to do that. And then here's the conclusion of this material. Cognitivism emphasizes that learning a second language is an active thinking process where learners analyze situations and make sense of data rather than passively absorbing information. This approach, rooted in the Inatis model, values problem solving, discovery learning, and cognitive strategies in teaching. By understanding how learners process information, educators can move beyond read methods and create more effective, engaging learning experiences that foster deeper understanding and skill development in second language acquisition. So, understanding the cognitivism concept, cognitivism theory is really important for us as a teacher, so that we can apply that to our students in language teaching. And also, we have to recognize the differences of the every language theories. For example, like we learn about behaviorism, we have to make a habit formation, and then in cognitivism we have to make the student more think and understanding about the material, so that we can choose the best method that we can give for our students. And so hopefully this material would give the benefit for us as the English learning English students. And here are the bibliography of this presentation. The first one is Suharno 2010, Cognitivism and its Implication in the Second Language Learning, and Zhang X 2024, Exploring Cognitive and Language Acquisition Processes in Second Language Second Language Learning of English. And that's all for me as the presenter of this session. Thank you so much for your nice attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.